All right, what's going on, Buffs Nation? Forgive me. I guess some soap I got to clean off the wall, but we're gonna deal with that at another time. But hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm very excited to be doing this interview. I guess I'll go ahead and get into it. This gentleman runs a huge YouTube channel here. I think he's got over 10,000 subscribers. He was a football player at UAB, also played professionally in the Arena League as well as in Europe, in Austria. Let's give a big, warm welcome to the Big Dog Chico. Yes, we hear all the
What's
chat
going
claps.
on?
How are you doing, Big Dog? How are you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing good. Today is another blessed day just to be alive. We got some work going on outside, so you might hear some hammering or something. Hopefully, it won't be picked up. But other than that, I'm doing great. How's it going? David Talks Buffs and the
Oh,
nation and the whole Buff Nation.
oh yeah, well we're doing well. We're getting some more rain out here right now, so hopefully y'all can't hear any of that thunder and lightning. But really appreciate you taking the time again to hop on. There's a lot that I want to talk with you about, and before I get started, I just wanted to say one of the reasons I wanted to have you on again is because of your football knowledge and the passion that you have for this Buffs program, and I just think it's so cool that we have a lot of longtime Buffs fans hopping in this community that have been tuned out for a while. We got people who are Coach Prime fans that have followed him throughout his career, hopping on into Buffs Nation this year, and it's really cool to have so many people on here from different perspectives that have come to see you from different places. And man, they're, in my opinion, they're no bad bandwagoners. Like, everybody's a part of Buffs Nation, and we're all going to enjoy this season together. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, but wanted to hear your thoughts. I know I texted you a little bit yesterday, getting a little bit more into the X's and O's. I know you've talked a little bit about Charles Kelly, this defense, some of the guys that you're excited to see. Uh, Maybe we talk first about who are some of the guys that you have big expectations for on this defense. We can kind of break it down from there.
Well, big expectations, I would say. Well, first off, shout out to Coach Charles Kelly doing his thing, coming over from
Yeah.
Florida State and Alabama, and he's worked with some top notch athletes. You know, some that has gone pro and Pro Bowl, and so he knows what he's looking for in that defense. He's going to come up with schemes and concepts, you know, similar to what we've seen at Alabama with that 4-2-5 defense that they run with that star position out there, kind of like that safety nickelback. So I'm looking for maybe kind of like the guy was at Alabama, Xavier McKenzie, I think his name was, I'm not mistaken, but I'll forget names fast. But I think he can create a position in this Colorado defense, in that star position, that nickelback, that safety, that outside rusher that can be big time. And I think a guy like Rod Ward, Cameron Silman, Craig can really excel at that position right there. So that'll be one to watch along with those edge rushers.
Definitely. Yeah, that was going to be one of my other questions to you, because I feel like where we got probably the most depth right now might be in that safety group, and where we might
Yeah.
have some more questions at linebacker, kind of who are going to be the guys there. Or honestly, like, I feel like the safety group has a little bit more depth than the cornerback room as well. So, do you see a world in which, you know, we might have at a time, you know, four safeties on the field?
Well, possibly could be, you know, if those linebackers don't show up and those safeties really show how talented they are. But I really think you can see probably two on the field at a time, maybe three. But the main thing, it'll be a heavy rotation of them. You'll
Mhm.
see probably, and we even saw this at Jackson State from Coach Prime. We saw some at Alabama, and I'm sure we'll see some here at Colorado with all the talent that they've stockpiled in that defensive backfield. You might see a different group on first and second down than you'll see on third down or third and long, second and long, or something like that. So they can really rotate and come in with a run type defensive backfield, and also a pass type defensive backfield, a
Yep.
zone type defensive backfield, an all man type defensive backfield. It'll be very versatile, I think, with the type of talent that they've brought in so far.
Absolutely. To get into a little bit more of the specifics of, I guess, your own playing career.
Okay.
There's been a lot been made about, so much turnover with the coaching staff or with the roster, all that. We talked a little bit about that yesterday.
Yeah.
From your own playing experience, how does kind of coaching, affect your ability, I guess, to gel quickly? Or, were there times in college or professionally where you were having to kind of uh, get to know pretty much everybody, new every year? Kind of what was that like for you, and how did coaching impact that?
Well, I think any team takes on the personality of their coach. You have a coach that's going to be very aggressive, high energy, whatever that coach is. That's the type of personality that team usually takes on. If you have a scary coach, then the team might be scared. You got a coach that's willing to go for it and show that he really believes in his guys. It's 4th and 1. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna go get behind our big offensive line, give it to our back. He's showing that he believes in them, and that really puts something into a player. I think as far as turnover go, in college you're going to see guys come in,
Hmm.
and you're going to see some guys actually a lot of guys will leave, whether it's grades, whether it's just not making it, whether it's, a lot of things can factor into it. There was a lot of guys I came into my freshman year with, and I think that they were great players, but they just ended up kind of probably being ineligible that sophomore year, and then boom, they're out of school by the junior year. You know, so at UAB we had one of the best classes when I came in. Shout out to Roddy White, played with the Falcons. He
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of like the header of that group that came into that class, and a few other guys who played well also. And that year 2004, we went to our first bowl game, and so crazy that we actually beat TCU that year.
No
Uh,
way.
at TCU, if I'm not mistaken, we beat Baylor that year. We beat gosh, there was another team that was really good that year, but we really balled out that year, and we gelled together because of the guys that was there. It's going to depend on the leadership also, especially the quarterback position. Shout out to Darrell Hackney, who was my quarterback at the time. If you have a leader like that that's going to put in that extra work, uh, and one of the first times I saw guys coming in early and stay late after practice, you got guys running around the field just doing something extra while 90% of the team is walking back to the locker room. They're still out there on the field. Eventually, somebody will see that. They'll come join on and join on. So I just think that, it's going to take on the identity of the coach. And as far as gelling together, that's going to be left up to the leaders on the team to actually bring them together. And as far as the time, how long that could take, that could be done over the summer easily.
Okay.
I think that could really be done over the summer. Just depends on the chemistry of the team, and I think that these guys have the want and the ability and the experience to know how important it is to come together and focus and get right under this coaching staff.
Absolutely. I love hearing that sort of that personal perspective that you have on all
Yeah,
this. And I think that this is a good segue, because I was wanting to ask you a little bit more about Shedeur as well. I mean, we're all familiar at this point with the stats that he's put up, the 70 touchdowns,
yeah.
all the yards, the awards that he's winning. I think he was the HBCU Player of the Year, Deacon Jones Award winner. And but I'm curious, in what ways have you seen Shedeur Sanders grow? Um, from the first time that he was starting, as that true freshman to where he is now. What do you feel like his best strengths are? And yeah, then we can get into expectations.
I think he's grown so much in his self confidence. I think his self awareness. I think even the fact the way how he wears his hair, the fact that he's wearing a beard, and his
Hmm.
dad, Coach Prime, said, "Hey, dog, you need to cut your beard, dog." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna keep it, Dad." And the fact that he is confident enough to know that I can rock my beard. I can be who I am. I'm okay being myself. I don't have to look like Coach my dad did back then. I can still be respectful and be a good young man, which I am, and show character, even though I have the twist and I have a beard on my face. He's showing that leadership ability, stepping up since a freshman year at Jackson State. He came in there. I think he kind of was a little bit trying to just be timid at first, but once he came in that spring and saw those guys playing, he was like, hey, man, I need to step up and be a leader from day one. And that's what he did at Jackson State. With the success came more confidence and more just self-awareness, self-assurance that he can be that leader and people will follow him. And with everything that he's taken and that's coming to him, that has come to him, that he's taken in stride, whether it's been the Beats by Dre deals, the Gatorade commercial, Tom Brady endorsements, actively black, and so on and so on. You got so many endorsements. The fact that he's taking this in stride, he hasn't really shown different personality. He's staying that same person. I think that he's really showing that maturity level that's going to eventually lead him to being, in my opinion, a Heisman candidate.
Yes.
Eventually, a top 3 finisher in the Heisman, and then a top 5 draft pick in the NFL. That's where I think he's going.
That's what I'm hoping for too. And curious, do you think, well, let's maybe play like a hypothetical or whatever. Do you think there's a situation in which he leaves after this year, and what would that be? Or do you see him pretty much staying these 2 years? It's kind of where
Yeah,
I'm falling
I think he's
right
in
now.
there for the 2 years. I think he's in for the 2 years. I think that he knows that even if he plays lights out this year, the ceiling is playing lights out for 2 years. That's going to put him in that top 2, 3, 4, 5 draft pick, in my opinion. I think he's going to go that high and going to be a franchise quarterback for some team out there. Leaving after this year, I think it'll be premature. I think NFL teams will still kind of, uh, you know, have their hesitations about him. But if he does it for 2 years and shows what he can do, and just, I think he wants to go after that Heisman Trophy. That's going to take a second year. I think that's what the goals are. I think that's where he'll be at. So I think he'll definitely be there for 2 years.
Yeah, and I would think too that you don't want to cut this experience short.
Right, right,
Having the
right.
whole family here and all of that. I think that it would take a lot, and I think because of
Especially,
his.
not
Oh,
to
go
cut
ahead.
you off, but especially, like I said, he has those endorsement deals. So especially with that, he's not, hurting for money. He's not trying to get there and nah. And so all the spotlight is already on him anyway. It's damn near like he's a pro. So he's more popular than 50% of the starting quarterbacks in the league. Who's the starting quarterback for you you name it? Who's the quarterback for Green Bay now since there's Aaron Rodgers going? Is it
Oh
Love?
yes,
Is it
yeah,
is it that
Jordan Love
Love?
from
Jordan
Utah
Love?
State.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, that's a guess. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So him or Shedeur. I'll take Shedeur over him right now. I don't care what he's been doing, what he's been learning the last 2, 3 years. I'll take Shedeur over him. So
yeah, yeah.
that's just where I'm going with it.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think that I think Shiloh has 2 years of eligibility as left as well. I think I saw on.
If he has 2?
I think so. I think that's what the scholarship chart said that I
Okay.
was looking at from Buff Zone. I'll look it up here just to make sure that
If Shiloh has
it's the
2,
correct information here.
that's huge for the team. If Shiloh has 2 years left, that's huge for the team. I
I
think
know.
Shiloh will stay those 2 years. Why leave? He's in the
Yeah,
same boat too. I think 2 years of productivity and being highly productive at CU will be more beneficial than leaving early or anything like
I
that.
think I think so too. Yeah. Just looking at this is the Buff Zone scholarship chart.
Okay.
I can copy it and try and link it here in the comments. But yeah, only Roderick Ward right now
Rod Ward.
is yeah classified as a senior, and I can go ahead and name off kind of some of the other seniors we got on this defense. But I what I think is interesting is just Ward, Brandon Gant, and then on the edge room, Jordan Dominic, Chance Main, And then on the defensive line, it's Payne Jr. and Taj Alston. So that is 6 guys that have 1 year of eligibility on the defense right now.
Yeah.
And I think like long term, or just even going into 2040, I really think they got a fantastic shot to get into the college football playoff, especially with the expansion and all that. And what I think is pretty interesting, I was taking a look at Tulane's starting team last year, because I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out. I'm like, how do you go from 2-10 to winning the Rose Bowl against USC? And man, it was really interesting. Their entire team, I guess, if you're looking at your starting 22, I think 17 of those guys were upperclassmen. So
17 classmen.
yeah,
He
upperclassmen starting.
grown men.
Yeah, yeah,
That goes back
and
to my point I made a couple of days ago. It's about having those grown men play. And look at there we go. Shout out to Michael. I appreciate it. Shiloh, 6 foot 195, junior, 2 years of eligibility. Oh my gosh. And he graduated already from Jackson State. So you got a guy back there that's a leader with a lot of experience from the SEC to the HBCU, winning, just a natural born leader back there. So I think those seniors will have a chance to play, if not, probably the first shot to play, so to speak,
mhm.
and it's their spot to lose. And you got some hungry dogs coming behind them, ready to hunt. I'm talking about across the board. You got a bunch of guys with multiple years left that can really, really put in some work and create the groundwork and foundation for Colorado to be very good for years to come. I think that playoff is there.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
Um, I don't think I'm overshooting or having too high of expectations for this team to think that they can, make it way past the 3.5 wins that Vegas have. I'm not going to put a number on
yeah,
it, but I'm just going to say, it's like Coach Prime said, exceed expectations and and try to dominate, basically, no matter who you're playing, exceed expectations and dominate. It's just that those other teams just have that history, that mystique, that aura about them, that they've been good, so good for the last 10, 20 years, USC's and the Oregons of such, to where people just are not ready to say that an expansion team or a team coming off 1-10 can just come together and beat them. It can't happen.
yeah.
It
No,
can't happen.
I think you bring up a great point. Just these are grown men that are coming in here to play, and while we do have a lot of underclassmen on this team, and we did bring in a big recruiting class as well,
Yeah.
we're not going to be depending on them this year.
Right.
There are maybe just a couple guys that I can think of. I'm curious if there are any more on your end that we should have an eye on, whether they're true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. But really, I think Cormani McClain will get plenty of playing time here, as well as Dylan Edwards within a spell role, maybe also having him return kicks or something like that as well. Is there anybody else that comes to mind that you have expectations for?
That people might not be looking at. I would say, yeah, definitely. Expectations would be for. Let's go offensive line. I'm going to go offensive line. My expectations for the offensive line is to have a lot of guys competing for that line, and a lot of them, Hank Zelinskis, Landon Beebe, Jack Bailey, Tyler Brown, Jack Wilkes. You Van Bam Wells, you go on that whole offensive line, you can plug and play, and Harden, Young, you can plug and play, and it's just going to be a high level of competition there. Who's going to be there to protect Shedeur Sanders? Who's going to be there to open up holes for the running game? Who's going to be that guy that's dependable, that's durable, that can actually be there, game in and game out, play in and play out. I think the offensive line going to be something to look at. I see a comment right here. Adam Hopkins playing as a true freshman, and Omarion Miller. I agree with that. Both of those guys are highly talented, all-Americans coming out of high school. But you do have a talented wide receiver room. And that first group is looking like Javon Antonio, Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Xavier Weaver across the board, no matter where you put them at, inside, outside, or whatever. I think those are the 4 right now that can be starters and pretty much be a number 1 and number 2 on a bunch of teams across the nation right now, plug and play wide receivers. So watch out for those receivers to be highly rotated also. Defensive backs, cornerbacks, Amarion Cooper, I like him. Once again, I like Demore Kennedy. I'm high on him. I'm high on Morgan Pearson. I like Pearson. And Vito Tisdale coming in. They got a bunch of guys. That's the crazy thing. They got a bunch of guys who can really play football. And usually when a team have this, they bring in so many people, it'll be a bunch of guys that need developing. They were good in high school. They were okay in high school. This guy could help us here. This guy could do that. The potential of it, you're hoping that they'll develop into something. But most of the guys that are brought in for Colorado that Coach Prime then brought in were guys that they've evaluated, they've seen on tape, and they put the analytics on as far as the real analytics. That's REEL. We can get into that at some point, but they track these players, and that's how they find, okay, he can be best suited for me. Or Coach Kelly can say, I see this guy playing at this position in this set on my defense. So they've been handpicked and the prototypes. So they're saying studs on tonight. Coach G, what's up? So everybody out there, just look for high rotation. Those first couple games going to go by, who is hot, who's making plays. Just keep them out there. At Jackson State, that's how Shane Hooks really got and stayed on the field. It was a guy by the name of Malachi Whiteman there first. That was a big receiver, 6'5", that was playing the same position. He got into some trouble, but he was highly productive. He got into some trouble. He had to come off the field. Shane Hooks came on and started making plays. He never left. So that's the situation I think they'll be in here in Colorado. You make plays, you stay on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch because, like you said, we got a lot of guys that are coming in here. I think that we would put at that we would kind of slate in as to be those favorites, to be those starters. They come in here and bring playing experience, which I think is can be rare when you're flipping over rosters like this so quickly. Now, Frank brings up a pretty interesting point that I wanted to ask you about, having to do with your interview on with Colin on Saturday. We're talking about a little bit of the tight end group. I think Zion, actually, who was in here, was talking about the possibility of Javon Antonio maybe playing some tight end. What are your thoughts on the tight end? How do you feel like maybe the Sean Lewis offense is going to look a little bit differently than it did at Jackson State, or than it did at Kent State? What are your thoughts on those things?
Well, two things. Why did Zico leave? You got to ask yourself that question. Why did Zico leave? Why is Zico not there anymore? What Zico wanted to be, from what sources say, Zico wanted to be a wide receiver. Zico wanted to, catch passes more than he wanted to block, right? Meaning, and trust me, I've been in this situation damn near to a T, to where you come into a situation where you are a receiving tight end, but the coaches and the packages calls for a more of a big bookend blocking tight end for most of what they want to do. They look at it as, if we want to have a guy going out for a pass, why have a 4-8 guy going out for a pass, which was Zico was? Why not have a 4-3 guy going out for a pass? Now, the possibility of this is the fact that Javon Antonio is a big boy and he's super fast. He's faster than Zico. He's about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller than Zico. Actually, he was 218. Zico been dropping weight. He got down to about 218 because he was trying to be more of a receiver than a bookend tight end like Passarello in them. So the fact that if they want to bring Antonio down there, that'll really say some things about Zico, in my opinion. The fact that they want, if it's going to be a guy in that slot position, that tight end position, they want a faster guy there, and Antonio will provide that. He has the experience of playing outside against the number one corner. So you can put him there, but only in passing situations. But then again, that could tip off the defense. He could be in that top Kyle Pitts type role. But from what I'm understanding, and from the fact that they've let Zico go, based off him wanting to be more of a receiver, I think that tight end position that they have, they want it to be a bigger blocker, bruiser type tight end, as opposed to a Shannon Sharp type tight end. You want a big Grunk tight end. He can block and also get out there and catch some.
Yeah.
So I think, but the number one emphasis on is blocking at the tight end position. Coach G says Zico is talented, but I'm
Now,
not sure he was ready for the mindset of blocking that tight end exactly. Zico wanted to play that receiver role. Great attitude, but not missed. Exactly what I just said. Shout out to Coach G Graham in the builder.
No, he's definitely right. Yes, thank you for that, Coach G. In terms of the tight end group right now, there's been a couple different offers that they've sent out to guys from JUCO. I think, a guy that I'm a big fan of, Pancake Gang, Connor Gilbreth, coming out of California. And then they, I'm forgetting his first name, but Bentley out of Snow College, Utah. Right now we have 3 scholarship tight ends on the roster. We have 5 or 6 scholarships left. How many more guys do you think that you'll see Coach Prime bring in before the season starts at that position group?
Well, it depends on what presents himself. I think we have another walk-on coming on. He's on my depth chart list at DN at rush end. That is Tristan Marios or Mariosi, something like that.
Yes.
Marois is the name. Marios. He's a defensive end. He was at the camp, actually, the JUCO camp, where he did well also, along with Chris Walton. Excuse me.
No, you're good.
Sorry about that. As far as who I think would be added, let's say it is 5 scholarships left. They're saying that's why they need Connor Gilbert tight end. He's basically another O lineman. That's why they're looking for those tight ends. I was going to say that. That's why they're looking for those tight ends in that mold to be that extra blocker off the line, that protection, because they're saying if we want to pass the ball, we got tight end, we got receivers who can go out there and run the routes. So why put a big guy out there and try to make him run the route, make him do something that he's might not be as natural as? Now in the red zone, you can throw it up to those big fellas. They can body up somebody. Cool. But mainly, you're there to block on the end of that line, and that's what we're looking for. But I'm sorry, to add on to that, though, would be defensive tackle. Defensive tackle, I need another 6'4", 320-pounder right there to clog up the middle and be a run stopper there on first and second down, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. I think that we're looking at tight end and defensive tackle as where we need to fill out. One question that I have for you is, do you think that there is a possibility at tight end where maybe with some of these offensive linemen that we have, that we'll see kind of jumbo packages where you'll see kind of a legit 6th offensive lineman in there, or do you feel like that
I really think so. Yeah, I really think we'll see that because of the amount of talent that you do have on that offensive line. I think you can see, 6th offensive lineman come in on the end of that line, whether it's Jada that's coming in, whether it's a backup right tackle, or whether you slide in Landon Beebe and slide out Tyler Brown, whatever. I really think that they're going to use some of those packages, definitely. Also, Champion Johnson, who's a blocking tight end fullback. He could be on the end of that line doing some kick out blocks and so on. So they have the personnel to do what they need to do. Like I said, it's just about taking on that personality of your coach, becoming that winner, putting in that work during the summer, and going into those games fearless, knowing that you're there to dominate. And I think it's going to start with TCU. Like I said, they're going down there to win, not to play no games. Coach Prime is going into his backyard in Texas, so he's not going down there to get embarrassed. You feel me? He's going down there to play some ball.
That's right. Now Keith brings up a really good point here, just about how that tight end position is what could have cost him. at the championship game. Man, yeah, that was a whole different animal. This is kind of a tangent, but I had wished that they had just gone for two right there at the end of regulation.
He
They
just
got
didn't
the
get it.
momentum, and they had just scored that touchdown.
Man,
You
it
know,
was right in the tight end's hands. He just dropped it. It happens. That's why you can't be too hard on him. As you kind of just take it as like, man, if he would have made the catch, we would have been exactly where we needed to be. So we did everything we could do. We just didn't execute at that point. As bad as they played, that was one of the worst games the defense played all year. And but like I said, Shedeur and Travis Hunter really came to play that game. They kept them in that game, especially that last drive. Unbelievable.
yes.
Unbelievable. If we could see those type of fireworks this year, man, it's going down in Boulder. Y'all gonna be partying all night up there. I'm talking about good drinks, good everything else.
Yes, good everything else, absolutely. Just like we hit on yesterday. Well, I do want to be cognizant of your time, Big Dog Chico. I
Yep,
got to get running here in a little bit, but
yep.
wanted to take the chance to have some of our viewers ask you some questions.
Let's
Maybe we
do it.
can go on that for a little bit. So y'all make sure you throw some questions here in the comments, and I'll try and get it up on here. Uh, but I think there was one question that I wanted to address here really quick. Someone
Yep.
asking me if I was going to be at the USC game. Gerald, here we go. David, I'm coming to the USC game. Can we hook up? It's going to be crazy. Absolutely. I'm going to be on campus tailgating. I don't know what time the game is at yet. I don't think it's been announced, but I'll be there with one of my friends, and we'll definitely have a tailgate to meet at, whether that's Alpine Garage Sports' tailgate. I think he has a spot for the whole year there. DNVR
Nice.
Sports has a spot for the whole year, and
Nice.
yeah, and then of course, Big Dog, whenever you're in town, I'll make sure that I'm on campus for that game for sure. There'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
Um, but yeah, let's go ahead. You know what? Maybe we can talk about this a little bit. Nicholas says here, CU has all major positions locked in. The main worries is the O-line depth and the interior of the D-line. I know we've already spoken a little bit about the D-line. Um, I I don't know. I'm not too worried about the interior O-line depth right now.
No,
Maybe a little bit at tackle. Maybe. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the tackles with Big Tank playing last year, having that experience, that's putting him number one in the depth chart, and it's kind of like his position to lose. He go out there and struggle. You can bring in Big Jota, who's coming in from JUCO. He go out there and struggle. You got Big Reggie Young coming over from Liberty University, who's I think might be the most talented of those three. Talented of those three. Jota is a hard worker. He's been there. He has some knowledge of what coach wants because he was there in the spring. So I think that depth is there at left tackle. Then at right tackle, I think it's Harden there or Connor, one of those two, Harden or Connor, who's coming
We
in.
got Savion
Um,
Washington too.
but then you got Savion
Oh yeah,
Washington as
yeah.
starter. I think he's going to definitely be fine at that position. He graded out, I think, at the top of Kent State offensive line last year with Jack Bailey coming over, ranked rated as number 2 offensive lineman for Kent State last year. So, but he played left guard. A lot of people were saying they project him to go to right tackle to play next to Savion, which he played with last year. But we'll see how that works out. But the depth, I think, is definitely there on the offensive line. A lot of talent. You got a young guy like Hank Zelinskis. He's shown how strong he is at the center position. So if you just go in with that same offensive line from the spring, right now I think that's a serviceable offensive line, and a lot of people just kind of questioning Jack Wiltie. I like Big Jack Wiltie at right guard, but if he struggles, you got Big Jack Bailey. If
Yes.
if if Van Bam Wells struggle, you got Landon Beebe right there. So I think the depth is definitely there, but you will need depth on that interior defensive line. Leonard Payne, Shane Cokes, Amari McNeil, Bishop Thomas. That's 4 right there on that interior.
Yeah.
Really, no one really behind them other than Big Zach Blackwell. I think his name is Blackwood or Blackwell. I'm sorry,
Blackwood.
Zach Blackwood. All right, Big Zach Blackwood is there also. He might need a year or two to really develop, but if you bring in another big guy from an SEC, I think it really don't matter about the school, but just the appearance of it. If you bring in a 6'4.5", 320-pound guy, he can be a force too. Shout out to No Scope Zone. Todd McCoy also put on some weight. Yep, he looked good. He is a defensive and edge rusher though. Big guy. That's a freshman. Has really looked like he's developed as a young guy with
Yeah.
a lot of muscle up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Want to thank Coach G real quick for that super chat. You're too kind.
Super
Thank you very
chat.
much. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Now you've also talked a little bit about Kyrie Mans. What are some things that you really like about his game?
Probably one of the most impressive films I've seen as far as a pass rusher with this group that's coming in. I think he had the most production as a pass rusher with 8.5 sacks of this group that's coming in. As a pass rusher, I love to see guys who use their hands. Defensive line coaches love to see that also. That's huge. You got to be like damn near like a boxer. Someone that offensive lineman try to jab you, you got to get up off of that. Kyrie Mans has great hands, great feet, and great eyes. Looking at the film, I thought he was smaller than what he looks in the well-off videos. So if he has that speed, those hands, those feet, and he's bigger than what I thought, if he's 6'2.5", 6'3", 235 plus pounds, 245. If he can get up to 245 pounds, he's going to be a beast off that end. It's going to be a lot of offensive linemen in that Pac-12 that cannot handle him. He's going to be coming with too much speed, and it won't be every down. So that offensive lineman will have to face a Jordan Dominant coming with some speed and power. They might have to face Derek McClendon, who's relentless, coming from Florida State. He's a big, long pass rusher. So you can plug and play, throw him out there, Coach Nick, and somebody's going to get to that quarterback. But Kyrie Mans is my pass rushing specialist, along with McClendon, and I got a lot of people looking over from Old Dominion, DV Harris. So, yeah.
I'm excited about the edge room. And one other guy, too, I'm wondering your opinion on is Savell Smalls, because when I take a look at his high school tape, man, it's freaking awesome. I mean, just highlight reels like his high school tape and then Bishop Thomas's high school tape. Like, I was pumped up about both of those guys, like watching their tape. Is it can it just be something as similar or as simple as a change of scenery where a player can kind of get their game back like that based on your experience?
I think so. I think it is. Even go back to Jackson State once again. You bring in a guy from Florida with James Houston. He was playing inside linebacker at Florida, right? He was set on that position. I'm playing inside linebacker. Coaches brought him over to Jackson State, gave him a chance to play inside linebacker the first couple of practices. They said we look at your body type. You project as an outside linebacker. He goes out there, practices an outside linebacker, gets in the game. He's nothing but productive, right? Ends up getting drafted. Now he is one of the top sack leaders as a rookie. I think he set a record in Detroit as a rookie. So that's coming from Florida in a situation where he wasn't very productive. He comes to Jackson State, gets with a different program, different coaching staff who looks at him and says, hey, man, you're this, not that. Trust me. Again, I was one of those guys. I was one of those guys who got recruited at linebacker from Georgia to Tennessee to Auburn to Alabama to wherever, you name it. But I felt like I wanted to be a tight end and catch passes. Well, you can go to UAB to do that if that's what you want to do. So you got to learn and understand when a coach tells you sometimes what they might see in you, it might not be what you see in yourself. So Savell Smalls is that guy who I think they're going to get the best out of what he has to offer. He has the measurables. They've seen his body type. So they're going to say, hey, you're going to be best on this defense in this position, whether it's strong rush in or it's on the weak side where you can come off and be a man amongst boys. That's what I think he's primed and ready for. I think he has the talent. He showed that in high school. Everybody evaluated him, put him as a 5-star. So all he has to do is get out there and show and prove with the opportunity. I think Savell Smalls is a star waiting to happen. Definitely.
I agree. I think he's going to get a lot of time on the field. And
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes, coming in at 18 years old, I can't imagine what some of that pressure is like when you're expected. You're the highest recruit in the history of the program. You're a hometown guy there, right in Seattle, and you're expected to
yeah,
step on the field and immediately produce over upperclassmen at a position where true freshmen normally don't ball out. I'm now that he's got a couple years under him, I have very high expectations for him. And
yeah.
the other thing that I wanted to talk on too with the lines in the edge room is just I think um, Tank hit on this with his interview with Life in Football, but the turnover at the position coaches level has just been insane. And I mean, for Tank on the offensive line, this is his sixth offensive coach that he's had
Dang.
since coming in 2020. And
Wow.
yeah, with defensive line, it hasn't been much different. It's not off that number by much. And I think a lot of people are discounting, particularly on the offensive line, because we do have a few guys that have stayed from the team previous. I think they're talented guys, but now we have actually like really qualified coaches coming in here coaching these guys up. Whereas before, man, a lot of the times we were just taking the coaches that we could get, and they were leaving so quickly.
Yeah.
We're just always having to replace it because honestly, nobody really wanted to, be here long term.
Wow. And well, and that's the thing. Coach Prime brought in uh, pretty much an all-star cast of coaching staff, guys who have been head coaches other places, guys who have been defensive coordinator, guys who are hungry with their first opportunity to coach, and a mixture with guys who have been with him for the long haul, with Coach Kevin Mathis, Coach Andre Hart, Coach defensive coordinator. He's been with him for a long time, but he's actually defensive analyst now. But then he was able to make these connections and bring in Charles Kelly, who has national championship experience. You bring in Sal Sinceri, all the experience that he has. You bring in Coach O'Boyle, experience that he has, former head coach, offensive lineman. So he did exactly what he was supposed to do and surround himself with a team full of coaches who's been a head coach and who
Mm-hmm.
also has that experience to help advise him and consult with him and all the young coaches he brought in also. So this coaching tree from Coach Prime, I think we will see in the future, next 10 years, they're going to be head coaches elsewhere, other places. So I think what he's done, the coaches that have been remarkable, so to speak, with what he's done and what he's assembled with the experience that all these guys have.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The coaching tree is pretty interesting because I mean, Coach Prime is, maybe one of a few guys that I can name in which his network is so wide and long reaching that I'm never going to be worried about replacing position coaches or coordinators. And that
Right.
is just, that's
I'm
a luxury I think few programs have.
I'm sure guys are calling him trying to be a coach. Hey coach, if you get another opening, let me do it. You got coaches or you got guys who are former players who are trying to get their degrees now so that they can
Mm-hmm.
come back and officially coach. You see Warren Sapp say things like that. So, um, you know, the opportunity that he's presenting is just vast, and I'm loving it. Somebody said they would love to play for Coach Sal. Coach Sal is a classic defensive line coach. You know what I'm saying? And that is a get in your face, call you a name, curse you out, ask you what the hell are you doing? Why are you not going hard? Why are you not chasing the damn ball?
He's talking shit to
No
you right there on
nonsense.
the
You
field.
talking smack to yeah, what? You either gonna love it or you gonna tuck your tail and get away from it. And anybody who's thinking about tucking their tail, he wanna run them off. You know what I'm saying? He wanna run them off. Get the hell off of Ryan. We want you anyway. So I love Coach Sal. Coach Nick Williams is getting it's kind of like having a great mentor in his first year as a position coach. So shout out to Coach Nick Williams, shout out to Coach Sal, man. That defensive line, they're not gonna be taking no loafing. They're not gonna take no we just button up this play. We just
Mm-hmm.
hell no. You're gonna run you to the sideline, man. None of that is going on this year. I'm sorry. And that's the mentality of the defense and the defensive line that you gotta have. Y'all must be
Mm-hmm.
crazy if y'all going to think you're going to see some loafing going on this year. If you do see any loafing, look at the next play and see if that guy's on the field. He's
Mm.
going to be out of there so quick. So everybody's going to be on a short leash, and the coach is going to be ready to pull them at any point. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
I'm at with it.
I love it. All right, I got two more questions for you here.
All right.
Um, the first one
Pastor
has to do.
J's.
Oh, oh, what are you saying? Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm reading these comments. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to catch up on it too. But Jimmy hits on what I was about to ask. Um, do you see it as a possibility in which other guys with gold jackets will join this coaching staff? I know that Ed Reed, he kind of seems to be kind of laying low after everything that happened at
Yeah.
Bethune-Cookman. He's been doing some stuff with his foundation on his Twitter. That's the only thing I've been able to find is just with him doing some work. Is there any possibility of CU becoming kind of gold jacket coaching you?
Uh, I don't know. I don't think that'll be immediately. I
Mhm,
think if maybe some of these coaches that's currently on the staff, they leave in 2-3 years, and then you have a guy like a Warren Sapp or Ed Reed. After all this stuff died down with him that happened at Bethune-Cookman,
mhm,
after everything dies down, maybe he can come join on. But I don't think they want to. I think Ed Reed wants to stay in Florida and wants to have his own situation. I think Warren Sapp could possibly join, but honestly, I think he's such a renegade, and he has some things attached to him that they probably wouldn't bring him over as a full on position coach.
mhm.
He'll probably be just a guy who comes in here and there. Uh, works with the defensive line, kind of like what he's done with the Washington Commanders from what I've seen. He comes in as a specialist and kind of works with those guys here and there, but not a full-on, full-time guy who's there on your staff permanently.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's understandable.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate your time, Big Dog Chico. I know we went a
No
little bit
problem.
longer. That's how it always goes with me. I always lose track of time, but I appreciate your patience. Why don't for the viewers that on my channel that haven't been familiar much with your work and what you're doing, would love for you to just share what things you got going on, or interviews or videos to check out that you've put out recently.
Well, recently, and I'm like an old school veteran on this YouTube. I started doing years ago doing music videos. I was a music video editor. I worked with a lot of rappers and things of that nature. And then it just got to the point to where I wanted to do something for myself. I wanted to get out here and do something in the sports world that's more of where I could be on this. I'm reading these comments where I could be showcased and so on. And so you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and some TikTok, Big Dog Chico. Anything you type in Big Dog Chico on Facebook. Also join the group, join the page. It's on the Big Dog Chico Sports Talk. You could like and follow and subscribe on that also. We're dropping content as much as possible. I started off doing content like this, but as as long as I'm seeing, more and more people just going into that same mode, I'm continuing to evolve and do different things on my channel. So we're doing more live things. I'm showcasing a lot of YouTube creators who are making videos in the same space as opposed to giving everybody the stiff arm. I'm doing like this. Everybody open up. We need to all join on together,
Yeah,
link up, and also give the fans a time to chime in. Everybody might not be able to make these videos, but everybody want to have a comment and say something, and I'm giving them that opportunity on my channel, doing it like that. Shouts out to everybody who make content on CU. Everything is much needed, um, and puts a spotlight on what Coach Prime is doing in a positive light, and so on. But just like he said, whether he does something in the bad and you report on it, cool. As long as it's truthful, as long as it's the right type of information, you're not trying to bash anybody, then cool. So much love. Shouts out to everybody who collabing. And if you want to collab, if you're a creator on this, make sure you join, like, and when I'm getting on live, make sure you come on and get on there. And
yes.
and appreciate you joining on and getting me on, David. I found your page a while ago, and like I said, I'm trying to show love to everybody out there doing it. I know it's not easy to do, especially getting up and grinding every day. So much love to you, dog. Much love.
Oh
Appreciate
man,
everybody out
well,
there. Shout out to Buff Nation. Get your merch. Get your merch.
Yes. Big Dog's got a lot of merch, and definitely check out his channel. And if you haven't been on his live streams, where fans and commenters get to hop on and talk, just talk with everybody, like y'all need to do that. It's an incredible experience, and again, just want to thank you. You are one of the guys really paving the way, leading the way here on the whole Buffs Coach Prime community here on YouTube, and it means a lot that you would take the time to talk with me for 50 minutes on Coach Prime. So y'all make sure to go subscribe, like, comment, buy merch from Big Dog. We need to keep him going. We need to keep this train moving. So I appreciate y'all, and we'll be back again with a video tomorrow.
For sure.
All right.
Peace in the
Take it
Middle
easy,
East.
everybody. We'll see you.